Detroit done 3-3. Welcome back, Steve. Here we're getting ready to talk a little Detroit Lions football. If that's what you're into, if you're a Detroit Lions fan, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't take you more than a millisecond. Just hit it for me real quick. Help me grow this channel. Helps me get noticed a little bit more. Help a brother out, man. One pride. It means one. It means we're all one team helping each other out. Help me out. Grow this channel. Much appreciated. So for those of you who know, I'm a huge fan of Brian Baldinger's podcast that he does on YouTube. I usually see him on Twitter that he posts. I usually watch him there. I can't remember the exact name of his podcast, but it's very, very good. As a matter of fact, if you're following me or want to look me up on Twitter, I just shared the clip that I'm going to talk about today. It's Brian Baldinger with Max Crosby from the Las Vegas Raiders, and they were talking about the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because the Raiders have played both of them this past season. So they brought in Max Crosby, and he was talking about each team's philosophy, each team's strengths and weaknesses. And I promise you guys, it was about a 5-minute video, I think, where they're talking about the Lions. It's very good. Go check that out. I could screen share it and show you guys the video, but it's just too long. So I'm just going to kind of break it down. It was basically Brian and Max Crosby talking, like I said, both teams, their philosophies and what they each like to do. And we're in for a real chess match on Sunday with the Bucs and the Lions. Jared Goff against that defense. They do a lot of different things. Tampa is a heavy blitzing team. And I'm telling you, when the Lions have the ball, I'm going to be focused in on that Tampa Bay defense, who's blitzing, what part of the field is open. We're going to get into all that, but it's going to be a very, very good chess match. I can't wait for it. So, like I said, Tampa Bay, one of the heaviest blitzing teams in the NFL, man. If you're familiar with Michigan football, national champs, just going to show that out there real quick, go blue. It reminds me of a more finessed, if you're a Michigan fan, you're going to probably hate this, but it reminds me of a Don Brown defense with how much they blitz. And if you remember Don Brown from the Michigan Wolverines, he was known as Dr. Blitz. That's kind of the philosophy that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have taken on with how much they send extra guys, but they do it in a very, very strategic way. And I'm going to get into all that. Tampa Bay blitzes at the top of the list in the league. This O-line and Jared Goff, the hot route receivers, all have to be prepared. But what blitzing can do, and we've seen this as Detroit Lions fans, blitzing, sending extra guys, rushing more than just 4 can result in big plays offensively for the Lions. Sending extra pressure means there's going to be some space for receivers or running backs like Jahmyr Gibbs to if you break a tackle, it's gone, because if you're blitzing, a lot of times you're in man coverage, not always, but it's just a little bit easier to blitz in man coverage. So if Tampa Bay misses some tackles in a blitz and we get the ball and we put a move on a guy, it might be a house call. But they're a good tackling team. They're a good blitzing team. They blitz very strategically. I'm going to get to that at the very end. So what does this mean? We know that Jared Goff, what is his biggest strength? Time in the pocket. What is Tampa Bay like to do? I've talked about it for over 3 minutes now. They like to blitz. So that's where I'm saying there's going to be a chess match between Jared Goff and this defense, because when Goff has time, he's lethal. When we've seen him under pressure, mainly from the Bears, the Packers, he gets in trouble. He can turn the ball over. Obviously, he's prone to fumbles. He can throw some interceptions. Blitzing and pressure can rattle Jared Goff. That's how a team beats them. That's like the number one thing teams are going to put on their board. When it comes to Jared Goff, got to get pressure to him as fast as possible. Don't let him sit in that pocket. Don't give him time. Their strength and our strength are going to be, it's going to be which one's going to budge first, because we have phenomenal offensive line. Our running backs block. Everybody on our team is willing to block. That's the philosophy and the mantra that Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes have put in place is, if you're coming to play for the Detroit Lions, you better damn well know how to block. Look at Jameson Williams. Didn't think he'd be a great blocker. He's a phenomenal blocking wide receiver. So it's really going to be a brick wall against a cement wall in this one. The blitzing versus Detroit's offensive line and their blitz pickups. I can't wait. It's going to be a match to watch. If you're one of those guys like me that likes to watch the game within the game and what's going on, Jared Goff, this game is going to come down to you. You have to be on top of your game with your reads, who you think is blitzing versus who actually blitzes. You're very experienced, Jared. You've seen it all. It takes a lot to confuse you. You're a seasoned vet. There's probably nothing you haven't seen. That just comes with time, your time in LA and Detroit. Like, defenses have tried to throw everything at you, but the kitchen sink. 99% of the time you handle it very well. Obviously, it's hard to be perfect. We get it. We love you. But this is going to be a different test on a different type of level. This is the playoffs. There is very little room for error. Obviously, we all know that. So, like I said, Goff, you got to be on top of your game. These blitz pickups, these hot routes that Jared's going to have to be in communication with his wide receivers and running backs on, hey, if a blitz comes from the left side, I need to know who my hot route is. Blitz comes from my right side, I need to know who my hot route is. Everyone's got to be on the same page. That could lead to a monster game, a huge game for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta if he's healthy, Jahmyr Gibbs if he's the check down running back, or even David Montgomery. I would look for those three guys. And I don't want to get into a full game episode. Like I said, this was just something that I saw today on Twitter from Brian Baldinger. Check it out on Twitter. I shared it. It's a phenomenal, great video with a lot of input from Max Crosby, who's one of the league's best defensive ends. Gives his input on the Detroit Lions standpoint versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers standpoint. It's going to be a great game. Now, everything I've said about the Lions, it makes it sound very easy. And it's not. I'm just talking here. It's really going to come down to execution. So for me to say it, it sounds easy, but I know it's not going to be. But Tampa Bay is very well coached. They blitz strategically, like I said. They'll audible out of it if they don't like the formation. They audible a lot. This does not favor them if they have to audible. This is where we can kind of take over because Goff, it's going to come down to communication. This can mess up you can mess up their audibles with motion and pre-stat movement. If you can catch them off guard before they're able to communicate, that's where we're probably going to be able to take advantage. And I thought Detroit was a team that used a lot of motion. If you watched our post-game episode that we did Monday morning, I gave a shout out to the Rams because they use more motion than any team I think I've ever seen in person. I think Detroit might have to take a page out of their book, use a lot of motion, throw off that defensive responsibility, try to catch them where they're maybe sleeping on us for a quarter of a second because they're going to be communicating fast, guys. So this is probably the biggest key to the game. I'm getting ready to do my game day episode here. I'll have that out Sunday morning. I want to do that after Saturday's game so I know what happens between the Packers and the Niners and what the scenario is looking like. So I'm probably going to repeat this. If you watch our game day episodes, you're probably going to hear a lot of this again. I'll try not to dull you guys or put you to sleep with just repetitive podcast episodes, but I am going to bring this up again, this blitzing stuff. So you will hear it again. Check it out Sunday. We're going to have our game day episode out. Hit that like button. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what the matchup is. I'm looking forward to seeing Penei Sewell, man. Penei Sewell is my guy. He's an absolute dog. I'm going to have to get me a Penei Sewell jersey. Leave a comment down below. Hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with some more content, guys. Have a good night.